Hi everyone, and welcome back to another Work No Game video. Today's video is dedicated to mistakes to avoid, so let's go ahead and jump right into this. One of the first things being is spending too much time on rerolling. I want folks to avoid this if possible. I understand if you're trying to get at least one S rank so that way you can maximize like your pulls in the very beginning, but just note that one of the things that you should be focusing on is doing your weeklies. And in order to unlock your weeklies, you're going to have to progress through the game and unlock the Phantom Pain Cage and also War Zone. And essentially, the more time that you are spending doing rerolls, the less time you are possibly, getting the chance to acquire these black cards, which are essentially locked behind like a progression gate. All right. And these black cards are going to be super important because they're going to be used for summons on actual banners such as the alpha banner that will be appearing in the future. And one thing to note is you should not use your black cards on the beginner banners. That's just my personal opinion, mostly because you want to save those black cards, like I said, for alpha. And this beginner banner will be here forever. And just note that you should be using your blue tickets exclusively for the beginner banners. And the way you get your blue tickets, if you jump into missions, you go into the event tabs right here. As you can see, as you're getting commandant levels, then you are going to be getting the blue tickets. So right now the next goal is to hit level 50 and I will get one multi, and then the other one was commandant level 10, and that's how I got the first multi. More on that on the reroll guides and everything, but just note, save your black cards and do your weeklies. All right, the next things being is jumping back into battle and then making sure you go into challenge and do your missions right here with Celica. The reason being is because this is going to teach you the basics of the game, such as dodging, swap dodging, QTE skills, which is essentially swapping. We'll do like an actual basics on how to do that on another video, because essentially any attacks are going to be reducing the target's defense by 10% for 5 seconds on a 12-second cooldown. Defense reduction is absolutely amazing. And on the 4-piece set, you're going to be reducing their defense by 15% for 7 seconds. It can be stacked up to 2 times. There's no cooldown on that. So essentially you will have infinite physical defense reduction as far as I know. And another character that you're probably going to be acquiring, or another memory / conscious, is going to be Ify. Ify just isn't advised because she's going to be increasing your damage based off of spamming orbs, and you don't want to just spam your orbs as soon as you get them. You kind of want to save them and do sort of more of a tactical gameplay. More on that later. And the reason being that you're going to want to sell Ify is so that once you get the Voltaire sets, 4-piece Voltaire set, you're going to be aiming for the Airwind set, a 2-piece set specifically, so you can increase your damage for your basic attacks by 10%, which is really good because you don't have to spam orbs and you're going to be spamming your basic attacks quite often. So Airwind is a pretty decent 5-star memory that you can get, or gear set. And then you can also use Gloria for your elemental damage dealers because she's going to be reducing elemental resistance by 6% for 5 seconds on a 12-second cooldown. So those are the 2-piece sets that I want us to look out for, which is Airwind and Gloria. And then Voltaire is going to be the 4-piece set that we're going to be using. If you're wondering where I'm getting this information, here's going to be a CN guide, help at free to play, posted this information as well. And as you can see, as you're going through the games, this is going to be sort of the gear sets that you want to use in the beginning, just so that you can maximize your gameplay at the very start. All right, so the next things being is going here into your actual members and the things that I told you about, gear sets and stuff. You can see this is my Voltaire set, my 4-piece set. I exchanged essentially some gold memories, and you can see here, or 5-star memories. Ify was a character that I upgraded. It was a huge mistake, like I said, so please just don't be like me. If you're wondering how I got Ify, if you jump into the missions right here, you can see as you're completing the story missions, you're going to be acquiring her gear set or her memory set, and I just don't advise to use her because it's just not good to spam orbs in the game. Honestly, she's really adorable and I like her. And here's going to be the other character that you can also get, which is actually pretty decent because your basic attacks will be doing 5% increased damage, which is a lower tier version of Airwind. So Archimedes is a good alternative until you can save enough shards or 5-star memory shards to acquire Airwind. Okay, so that's how you're going to be acquiring Archimedes via the normal story. And now that we've covered the basics, so let's go ahead and talk about the fodder system really quick. So these are going to be memory enhancers, and these are sort of the things that are memory fodder. You can essentially recycle 3 of them to equate a better sort of memory. It's not really worth it for your 4 stars because you're going to get a bunch of 4 stars absolutely for free that are pretty decent. Like we talked about, Archimedes is pretty decent, not to mention you'll be upgrading them very quickly, so you're going to be getting the 5 stars outright pretty fast. And you can do the same thing with weapon enhancement. This is going to be weapon enhancement fodder. You can trade 3 of these in to essentially get a better 4-star weapon. And then if you jump into the rewards right here, you're going to be getting a 5-star weapon. So it's not really advised to upgrade the 4-star weapons or get too attached to them, because eventually you'll be getting the 6-star weapons as well. well. And one of the things I want us to focus on, and a mistake to definitely avoid, is never forget to turn on support, because support is essentially going to enable you to have like people jump into your fights in case you're having a hard time. That way you can get help on all your story missions, because this game does get difficult. Support is actually a really cool feature. Don't forget to jump into like the levels right here or your profile, and then go into achievements. As you can see, you can get even more 5-star memory shards just by going through the main stages. And when it references main stage, it's actually talking about the actual story within the game. So what do I mean by that? Going into battle and jumping into the main story as you're completing stuff, this technically counts as main stage progression, and also doing some hidden stages which will be appearing later down the road. Now another thing is focusing on your resources. This is going to be where you're going to be expending your stamina outside of like the main story. I recommend focusing on getting a bunch of cogs, because cogs are really useful throughout the entire game, and then getting some skill points, because skill points can be essentially handed out to all of your important characters, or the characters that you want to focus on, or constructs. And then of course jumping here into overclock, because overclock is going to be worth it in order to overclock or limit break the gear sets that you have. So for example, you want to limit break Voltaire because level 25 is the max, then you're going to be using some memory overclock circuits in order to increase her level cap, which is going to be really nice because it's going to make your gear sets pretty powerful early on. Honestly, don't get too attached with everything, because obviously like we're going to be moving into like 6-star memory sets like later down the road. So just use your 5-star memories. Of course, these will be usable because we're going to be building multiple teams, but it's just something to like take into account in case you want to overclock, which is essentially limit breaking gear, PGR terms. Another thing that we did not talk about is like actually spending your cogs. It's totally worth it to use them on like these shards right here, for example like inverse lux, or you're going to be spending it on cores or overclock material skill points like we talked about. Just don't use like your black cards. This is entirely not worth it. And of course, don't buy like these weapons and like these memory shards. We already talked about the recycle feature. If anything, you can like turn like your memory enhancers and your weapon enhancers into fodder material. So instead of like jumping here and using your cogs, all right? Same thing with like the cogs factory. It's not really worth it, because eventually you're going to be able to farm out like these 6-star memories, and not to mention like these 5-star like gear memories that we talked about, exchange like weaker like consciousness or memories in order to get like these guys. It's just not worth the price, what I'm trying to tell you, because cogs are going to be finite as we're progressing through the game. And in case you're wondering how to get skins, eventually we unlock like the dormitory feature, and the dormitory feature will grant us coins that where we can exchange them for skin tickets, and that is how we're going to be getting skin tickets throughout the entire game. This is how you're going to be adding friends like we talked about earlier. Just know I'll leave links to the Discord that we have down below in case you want to join a community. And yeah, so as you can see here, dorm unlocks at 4.2. I haven't gone that far. Biggest mistake to avoid is going here into missions and forgetting about the bounty missions. Make sure to get these ticket missions in particular, that way you can do more summons. Select the mission. Do not accept anything like this. All right, go ahead and refresh and try to look for a mission that will actually give you tickets. So as you can see here, there's an S rank mission that will give you tickets, so go ahead and claim this. This is going to be well worth it. You can try to reroll like your missions some more in case you want to. This is what you want to see for your bounty missions, that way you can maximize your tickets that you're acquiring for summons and whatnot. All right, and then jumping here into the main menu, going into the battle area. If you're wondering, you go into challenge. When is Phantom Pain Cage and Warzone going to be unlocking? You just have to progress through the story like we talked about. It's going to require higher commandant levels, and one thing I didn't talk about is the memory rescue. This is one way to also get some memory like characters or the memory gear sets. All right, so you can exchange some of these in case you don't want them, and like we said, you can sort of convert them, but eventually this area is also going to be giving you 6-star memory sort of cards. So it's just something to take a look into, and definitely not a place to avoid. And then another thing when it comes to story, make sure to never do like auto clears, because this is going to essentially waste your time and you just don't want to do that. Okay, so most of your extra stamina should be going into like resource farming, just because that's going to be a little bit more efficient, and you're going to need these resources like we talked about earlier, and I told you my suggestions for earlier. But yeah, make sure to focus on mostly your novice missions and your overall missions, and you'll be progressing in the game pretty quickly, because all you really have to do is increase your commandant level and progress through story. And if you're not progressing through story, focusing on resources, and you should be pretty good as far as like everything goes, because the only thing stopping you from going through other story sections, the mistake that I made was trying to keep pushing like the actual story and like trying to be like, man, why can't I get any farther? If you click it, it's going to be like, hey, you need to be command at level 28. So the best way to like get levels is just going into resources and taking it from there. And it's definitely worth it to use like the serums. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, go into items right here, go into material. Here are going to be some serum bundles that the game will provide you in order to get more stamina. Definitely use those, don't be afraid. But anyways, if you made it this far in today's video, consider subscribing, dropping a like, leaving a comment. Follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter. Once we hit 25,000 subs, we're doing a giveaway. Thanks so much for watching. If you have more tips, leave them in the comments. I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching and have yourself a fantastic day. See ya in the next one.